What's up, guys? Dan here, and welcome to the first Q&A Tuesday in a long time. Um, Probably should check the dates before I actually did this. Be interested to know how long it's been. Actually, wait, I can see. Let me take a look here. It looks like the last time a Q&A Tuesday video went live was in August. August 9th, which means that it's been over 9 months since the last Q&A Tuesday went live. How about that? So here we are, back again. Glad to be here. Got some cool questions that we're going to answer today. And hopefully, I'm hoping to expand the videos on the YouTube channel. I'll give you a little more about that in the end of the video. So let's see. First question is from Kevin Chu, who said, "Can you speak a little about personal discipline and keeping on schedule / getting what you need to get done without getting distracted?" Sure. First off, I am the king of procrastination and getting distracted. So, well, I was the king. Let me rephrase that. And I can be the king if I allow myself to be. So, it's something I've struggled with and something that I have found some ways to work around. If you're over on the blog at all, there are two recent posts. One is called 10 Superhuman Seconds, and the other is called the 3-Minute Mosey. So those are two techniques that I've used for like starting work, like when I'm working on something and getting something done. If I am procrastinating and putting it off and I don't want to work on it, those are two techniques that I use, and I don't want to try and shove a whole bunch of stuff into one little video. So just go look those blog posts up on beagameCharacter.com. They are relatively recent, so you shouldn't have a hard time finding them. But beyond that, as far as staying disciplined and getting what I need done without getting distracted, one of the things that I like to use is a program app, whatever you want to call it, called Cold Turkey. If you look it up, basically you're able to block websites for a certain period of time. So if you find yourself killing a lot of time on like Reddit or Facebook like I do, basically you put it into Cold Turkey, you say block it for the next 3 hours, and that's it. You're not going there. I have also found some success in like interval timing, where I like set a timer on my phone or something like that, and I say I'm going to work for 20 minutes straight right here, and then at the end of those 20 minutes I'm going to take a little break, and then for those 20 minutes I'm like hyper focused, like I am super on point for that. Sorry. So those are a couple of techniques that I've used. The other thing about staying disciplined is trying to do the act that you're trying to be disciplined about at the same time every single day. You're building a habit. It tends to help like that. That goes for stuff like working out, waking up on time, stuff like that. You don't want to try and end bad habits like procrastination. You want to replace them with good habits. So there's a whole lot more on this subject. It's a lot for just one Q&A video. I'm looking to put together a new product, software, ebook, something, video course. I don't know what form it's going to take yet. Right now the operating name is God Mode Engaged, but I'm not sure if that's going to stick or not. It might change. This is all kind of nebulous, but basically I am working on a new sort of entity for approaching stuff like this. Procrastination, focus, discipline, learning, productivity, stuff like that. So keep an eye out for that. That's going to be coming after RPG Fitness unveils, which should hopefully be around the end of the month. I'm going to start theorizing and talking about that kind of stuff. So definitely up your alley, Kevin Chu. Thank you for asking a question. It was a great question, and keep an eye out for that stuff in the future. Next up, we're going to take a question from Castillo196. Also left a comment on YouTube. Said, "What would you recommend for starting martial arts? I work law enforcement and need more than the basics they teach us." First of all, good on you for seeking out more beyond the basics. I know a lot of law enforcement officers, and some of them think that just the stuff that you get in the police academy is enough. And in my opinion, and the opinion of the other law enforcement officers I know, it's not. So good on you for searching out something else in the first place. I know it's kind of like the flavor of the moment right now, but jiu-jitsu is really, really good, or judo, or wrestling, or any kind of grappling art. Just because, like, learning how to punch is not that hard. Like, you could go take boxing for a couple of weeks, or Krav Maga, or karate, or, a good style of karate, or any striking art, and learning the basics of punching is pretty quick and easy to learn. And beyond that, most of the time in police work, you're not looking to cause, severe bodily harm. You are looking to control and subdue. So learning something that allows you to use leverage against larger opponents, use various soft control techniques to, render an attacker inert without having to, like, really harm them physically. Like, I think that sort of training, I know there's, not to get political here, but there's a lot of stuff going on in regards to policing techniques in general. I feel like if a basic requirement of police work was to spend, an extended period of time learning soft control techniques, learning how to restrain and or control someone without causing undue or extended physical harm, would go a long way for that. So I would really recommend a grappling art of some sort as your basis. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, like I mentioned, is very, very good at that. It's expensive. If you don't have that available or you don't have enough money for it, generally Judo is a little bit cheaper. And if you can find Judo, it'll teach you some of the same stuff. So take a look into something like that, and that would be my personal recommendation for you. So thanks for asking a question, Castillo196, and I hope you enjoy this video and you ask another question in the future, because that was a very good question. Final comment on YouTube is from BenRex777, who says, "Hello, Dan." Hello. "I don't have any questions. I only want to welcome you back, and your website looks better than the last time I checked. I love the way you combine fitness and games, and I'm looking forward to further content on this channel." Awesome. I'm glad to be back. Thank you so much for leaving a comment, and don't worry, more awesome stuff is coming on the way, and I will, again, speak a little more about that at the end of the video. And also, I'm glad you noticed the website's looking a little better. It's still a work in progress, but I like where it's at right now. Let's see. Now we're going to hop over to the forums, where we have a question from Ghost. And Ghost says, "So I'm interested in your personal rundown on Ishinryu," which is the style of karate that I've studied, "the basic description of the style and what is unique / stands out about it, what drew you to it, keeps you in it, all that stuff. Also, Judo, Yudo Kodokan." Yeah. Same questions. "Personally, I've got a decent fundamental understanding of what Judo is, but reckon most folks don't, aside from maybe Ronda Rousey throwing fools. Yes. Last but not least, I'm curious, like, how you describe your own personal fighting style, like, aside from the obvious Ishinryu plus Judo. Like, the skills of the Ratmaster breakdown, what sort of techniques you prefer, mentality, etc. Oh, and one more. Are there any game characters that, like, appeal to you, inspire you, or that you simply relate to as a father / parent? Heck, even like characters in fiction outside of gaming." Oh boy. Alright. So, start off, Ishinryu, the style of karate that I study. Ishinryu means one heart way. And what's unique about it is that it was one of the first, in fact, it was basically the first Okinawan empty hand style to adapt a more modern style of fighting. It was invented by Tetsuo Shimabukuro back in the 1950s. Although he was working on it for longer than that, obviously. Tetsuo Shimabukuro studied Goju-ryu karate and Shorin-ryu karate, and as well as Okinawan Kabuto, and kind of drew from all of those and formed his own amalgamated style. It was basically one of the original, like, mixed martial arts in a way, in that it combined the best parts of multiple martial arts and kind of geared them towards more modern fighting style techniques. It's unique in the sense that, first off, it was one of the first, in fact, as far as I know, it was the first Okinawan and or Japanese karate style to feature a more upright style of fighting. You don't have the deep lunging front stances and stuff. For the most part, you're standing a lot more upright, and this was later embellished upon by the Americans who brought it back to the U.S., who were mostly Marines. They were U.S. Marines. They were trained by Tetsuo Shimabukuro, and they brought the style back to the U.S. My lineage comes from Don Nagel, who studied under Tetsuo and then brought it back to the New Jersey area. He was a police officer, actually. I want to say in Jersey City, but I'm not sure. But we're getting kind of off the point there. So, upright, more narrow stances, more modern fighting type guard. Ishinryu still features the one hand high, one hand lower style that a lot of karate styles do feature, but it's a lot more fluid in its fighting guards, which makes it a little more useful as far as actual fighting goes. Other thing that's unique about Ishinaru is the style of fist. We do have traditional uppercuts and hook punches, but for the most part, most of our punches are done with a vertical fist like this, with the thumb locked on top like that. Couple of purposes to that. First off, with the thumb locked on top as opposed to wrapped around, it actually aligns the bones in your hand a little bit better, so it's harder to, break the wrist. Not necessarily break, but I mean, break the plane of the wrist. So if you want to try it yourself, you can actually give this a shot. If you lock your thumb on top and clench it in as hard as you can, it's a lot harder to bend your wrist in a given direction than if you put your thumb around the side like in a traditional punch and kind of try and bend it one way or the other. So it makes a more rigid wrist. On top of that, by keeping the fist vertical or slightly turned while punching, you engage different muscles. Tetsuo Shimabuku was a small dude, so he wanted to capitalize on whatever he could to fight larger opponents. And one of the things that he did was start fighting with a vertical fist style like this, because it engages your lats a lot more, especially when you're punching in an upward direction. If you're not doing an uppercut, and you can actually feel that when you do a traditional uppercut, you can feel your lats engage a lot more than if you turn and punch upwards like this, like a traditional karate or taekwondo fist. Interestingly enough, the vertical fist is featured in other martial arts, mostly kung fu, Chinese martial arts. There are a lot of kung fu styles that feature the vertical fist in some of their forms, but they wrap the thumb around the side like this instead of on top. So that's kind of some of the hallmarks of Ishinaru. Ishinaru also has kata from Shorin-ryu and Goju-ryu styles, as well as Kabuto arts. Kabuto is Okinawan weapons again. Judo, I do Kodokan Judo. Judo is the gentle way. That's what roughly translates to. It was developed by Dr. Jigoro Kano. We often joke in judo class that he was a doctor that wanted more patience, so he invented judo. Sorry, allergies. So Judo is based around, obviously, throwing people. If you're familiar with Ronda Rousey at all, there's a lot of throwing in Judo. There's also a lot of groundwork, takedowns. Judo as a sport is kind of shifting right now because the overarching governing body for sport Judo, the people who handle the Judo in the Olympics and stuff like that, are changing the rules a bit. One of the things that they actually outlawed relatively recently is grabbing the legs when you are sparring, doing randori, which is judo sparring. You can't do single or double leg scoops or takedowns in judo anymore in competitive sport judo because you will get penalized for it. They did this, as I understand it, to first of all make judo a little more showy and a little more interesting, and also because they had a lot of jiu-jitsu and wrestling guys, once MMA started getting popular, who were coming to judo competitions and basically just shooting for the legs, going for the takedown, and trying for the pin every single time, which ignores a lot of what judo is about. But it kind of bothers me because it also neuters the art as a self-defense art. But my judo instructor is from the old guard, so he doesn't care about sport judo rules so much that he doesn't teach us those techniques. We still get taught them. We still work them in the dojo, and so you get. It's basically the cool thing about grappling and martial arts in general is that you get to a point where there's only so many efficient ways to do things. Like you look at any grappling art from around the world, going from jiu-jitsu to Greco-Roman wrestling to Irish wrestling to sambo to what else? We got Mongolian wrestling, any kind of grappling art in the world, and for the most part, you end up kind of getting down to the same similar stuff. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu definitely has the market corner on groundwork techniques right now, just because that's their main emphasis. But even then, a lot of stuff that you'll find in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you'll also find in Judo, because they both came from Japanese Jiu-Jitsu originally. And there's only so much economy of motion you can have. The only thing with Judo versus those other arts is, like, say, in Irish wrestling or in, Greco-Roman wrestling or Mongolian wrestling or any other wrestling or grappling art, for the most part, you've got, like, 10 to 20 takedowns. Judo has, like, 300 takedowns and throws, mostly because if you move your foot an inch in one direction, or you switch your grip slightly, or you move in, you get your hips this much further to the right or to the left, all of a sudden it's got a completely different name, it's a completely different throw, even if all the other mechanics stay the same. So that's one of the things that kind of throws people off about judo at first, is that first of all the throw names are in Japanese, so there's a ton of them to learn. And on top of that, like, there's a ton of throws, but in reality they all break down to the basic kind of same 4 or 5 mechanics. So there is that. But for the most part, judo meshes with karate just like any other grappling art meshes with any other striking art. So it's kind of by learning both, I've kind of gotten a cool MMA kind of style experience. And I started doing that before MMA was even a thing, because, again, one of the questions asked here was what drew me to it and keeps me in it. What drew me to it is I was, 5 years old, and my parents said, "Hey, you're doing this." I was like, "I want to do karate." They're like, "You're doing this." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So that was just basic luck. I happened to luck into a really awesome dojo with really, good instructors, very cool people. So, but what keeps me with it is the fact that it is very practical as far as karate styles go, and judo is very practical as far as grappling styles go. So, and my instructors, on top of that, are focused on practical applications. So we try not to be mired down in tradition. We switch some stuff up as necessary in sparring and whatever to adapt to what works. And I have played around with some MMA practitioners and stuff, guys who have done jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai and stuff like that, and I am comfortable and confident in my ability to hold my own. So I like to think that what I practice is a pretty modern art, which is pretty important. I mean, there's stuff to be said for learning a traditional style by the books, and there's stuff to be said for adapting it for modern applications. Finally, as far as skills and techniques, I prefer mentality. I'm very much a power fighter, so for the most part, I like to just blast through my opponents. Like, I will overwhelm with, extreme aggressiveness if I need to, if I can. I can fight smart. I can be a counter fighter and stuff like that, and typically that might be the approach I take for larger opponents. But for equal-sized opponents and or smaller opponents and or people that are obviously less skilled than I am, my general style is just overwhelm and conquer. Like, that is what I do. I charge through. I favor powerful techniques. I like to strike right into a throw. I will go punch, 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 and all of a sudden I've got my hands around your neck and I'm trying to put you 4 feet in the air and on the ground. So that's kind of what I go for. I've got another instructor who teaches in my dojo, my partner Andy, who is the co-owner. He is much more of a tactician than I am. So he tends to look for, openings, pick his shots, stuff like that. And then my wife, Jackie, who also teaches the dojo, she tends to be, she's an aggressive counter fighter. She will set you up for spots and then she will capitalize on them. So she's not a timid fighter, but she is a counter fighter in a lot of ways. And she's got the most wicked, sneaky little punches that you will not see coming that I've ever seen, which is fantastic. Mentality-wise, that's kind of my overall mentality in combat. I just, and beyond that, it's durability too. One of the things that I don't like about karate is the point fighting system. Like, the whole first shot in wins the match for you. From my personal experience in the, no holds barred sparring I've done, one of my personal strengths is resiliency. Like, obviously, you don't want to take shots if you can avoid it, but if I have to take a shot or two getting into grappling range to put you on your back, I will do so, and that's one of my strengths. Like, the fact that I can take hits and keep going is one of my strengths, and unfortunately, point sparring doesn't really lend itself to that too much, which I think is a shame. But, whatever, that's fine. Finally, any game characters that appeal to me, inspire me, or simply relate to as a father or parent. Game characters that relate to and or inspire me. Link from Legend of Zelda is one of the classics. For the longest time, I wanted to be Link. Like, that was my guy. Wanted to be him. I would say other characters that inspire me. Will from Illusion of Gaia, just because, his adventure spans so much and he loses so much in his adventure and he keeps going. And I think tenacity and the ability to persevere is a very admirable trait. And as a father slash parent, that's difficult because there isn't that many father parent, role model figures in gaming. I will say this is an odd one, but Batman, namely from the Bruce Timm universe, which is Batman the animated series and Justice League the animated series and all that stuff, as well as some of the stuff in comics with him interacting with Damian Wayne, his son, and kind of taking him off the violent path that Talia set him on. I think that's pretty cool. I think he's got some stuff to aspire to. Generally speaking, my approach to parenting is that I see myself, I'm like, I have to be a superhero. Like, that is my job in life. Dads are supposed to be two things. They're supposed to be superheroes and they're supposed to fix stuff. Like, that's it. That's the core of what a dad is supposed to be. He's supposed to be a superhero role model and he fixes things. Like, that's what dad does in my definition in my head. So that's kind of what I shoot for. I work out with my son. I love to wow him by lifting heavy weights in front of him because it's awesome. It's really cool to feel that, sense of admiration. And I try to be the best, most excellent human being I can be for my son, just as an example and a role model, you know? And the fixing things front, I just think, like, that's a good thing to be able to do, is to fix things. Something breaks, I fix it. If something in the house breaks, I need to fix it. I bring my son along. I'm like, hey, we're going to fix this thing. This is how we do it. This is the tools. These are the words for it. This is the technique for using them. And if we don't know what we're doing, we're going to go and look it up. We're going to find a book. We're going to find a video. We're going to go on YouTube. We're going to figure out what we need to do to fix this, get the tools we need, and then go fix it. So that's generally where I come from on the parenthood front. So, oh my gosh, this video is long. I'm sorry. I rambled a lot. It's been a long time since I've done one of these. So if you stuck through it this far, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. As I mentioned, I want to start doing more stuff on the YouTube channel. I want to do possibly small little short videos, quick, easy stuff, as well as I do want to get back into the game character video workouts and specifically the game character combat guides. So if you have a game character you would like to see a combat guide for, please go ahead and leave it in the comments below, but there's a condition. If you leave a suggestion for a character, you also have to leave a question for the next Q&A Tuesday, which will be a week from today. So go ahead and leave your game character combat suggestion below, as well as any questions you might have for the next Q&A Tuesday. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe if you have not done so already. And as always, remember to live boldly, change the world, and continue to be awesome. Bye-bye.